Vikings fans, you are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I'm accompanied by Adam Carlson.
I am here.
What's up, Adam?
Uh, I don't know, feeling very unmotivated this week. I don't know what it is.
We, and by we, I mean I refer to me and the voices in my head, we are going to motivate you to get through this show, Adam.
See, this week is the worst. Football's over. I still got a week before The Walking Dead starts back up. These 6 days suck.
Ugh, I agree. The first week after football is always the roughest.
And even this year, for some reason, I just was not excited about the Super Bowl. I don't know what it was. Uh, all the commercials get leaked. The halftime show was nothing I was interested in seeing. The Vikings weren't playing in it. You know, those are all factors that kind of made me just be like, don't get me wrong. I am very glad the game ended up the way it is. And we're going to talk a lot more about the Super Bowl. Well, hopefully not a lot more, but probably more anyway.
A little bit. A little
later
dab.
on.
We'll dab into the Super Bowl. See what I did there?
I did, and didn't quite care for it. You Andy Reid lover, dabber, you.
I won't lie. I only just learned what that was like a couple days ago.
It's a
thing.
It exists.
It's a thing. It exists. People do it. I hope it's done with shortly.
Not sure why, but it does happen. But I'd like to welcome everyone to episode number 190 of the Purple People podcast. We're inching up on 200. It's going to be something. I'm
going to buy a balloon. Just a single balloon.
A little red balloon.
With 200 wrote in Sharpie on it.
Yep. With an exclamation point. Maybe 2 exclamation points.
Maybe.
And this episode's titled Halls of Fury, because we're going to talk a little bit about a certain Hall in a little bit. Not Scott Hall. Not Anthony Michael Hall.
Not Hall Notes.
Ooh, we could talk about Hall Notes. I'm actually a fan. But that's a completely different podcast again. We gotta stay on Vikings. No Hall Notes.
Maybe.
All right, so the new bad lip reading videos come out. We look forward to these because they're a lot of fun. What they do is they take video of players, coaches, cheerleaders, whoever, talking on the sidelines, and they'll do voiceovers to match up with how their mouths are moving. It's pretty fun. They've done it with a lot of other things, including Star Wars, The Walking Dead, a lot of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This time, it's titled 2016, but it covers all of the 2015 NFL season. This time, it was a 2-parter, and featured Adrian Peterson, Teddy Bridgewater, Harrison Smith, Mike Zimmer, as well as a cheerleader. And I apologize to the cheerleader for not knowing her name, but
cheerleader.
But she is cheerleader. She gets generic cheerleader.
She's cheering. I have not seen this video yet. I'm gonna have to check it out.
The second one actually ends with a Mike Zimmer, and I laughed pretty good at that one. I did. So, coming into the 2016 season, the Minnesota Vikings have a rank of 18th as far as strength of schedule. And as we've talked about before on the podcast here, strength of schedule means absolutely nothing. Especially before free agency, before trades, draft, before injuries, before coaching changes, before all this stuff. To look at a schedule and just say, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk of a season. No.
But
not unless you're playing a division where every other team in your division is garbage.
Well, to be fair, Detroit and Chicago do kind of suck.
I am excited to see how Detroit will do without Calvin Johnson. Because it's going to be a challenge.
It will be a challenge.
And I've gotten so used to seeing the Bears with Matt Forte that if he doesn't end up back there, it's going to be a little different. A little different indeed.
Mm-hmm.
So we were speaking of the Hall earlier, and of course when we talk about the Hall in football, we're talking about the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio.
Yeah, buddy.
And the 2016 class of inductees has been announced, and 2 former Minnesota Vikings were included. Of course, I'm talking about the gunslinger, quarterback Brett Favre, and former Vikings defensive coordinator Tony Dungy.
You betcha.
I have one friend who absolutely just hates when I mention that Tony Dungy got in the Hall because he's like, what did he ever do to accomplish getting in there? He took over a stacked team and won a Super Bowl with a team that already had Super Bowl winning potential. It's like, well, he did it, didn't he?
And he's a nice guy.
He is, and he's a former Viking, so
Yep.
I guess thumbs up there.
No shock that Brett Favre got in. I don't think that surprised anybody.
No, with all the records he's broken, his notoriety, there was no way that he wasn't getting
Hmm.
in first ballot. There aren't very many players that you look at and you say, this guy is a shoe in. He's getting in no matter what. Favre's one of those guys.
Hmm. I was watching, side tangent really quick, I was watching some of the old videos from 2009 on YouTube of when Brett came
Nice.
in. Yeah, when he came into the team. And it was funny because they had the whole cut up of all the Packers fans just being as mad as can be and burning the jerseys and calling him a traitor
Oh yeah.
and all the other stuff and just how horrible they treated Brett Favre. They sure do love the guy again now.
Hey, we saw the same thing with the Vikings though, when Fran Tarkenton went to the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
It's a similar situation, but what can you do?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Brett Favre, there's going to be a pretty interesting biography of him that's going to air in November. It's based on Jeff Pearlman's book Gunslinger: The Remarkable, Improbable, Iconic Life of Brett Favre. Now, Favre himself will not be a part of the project, but he has opened up a lot of his friends, relatives, former teammates to talk, and he's also got a lot of old footage from interviews as well as game footage to use. So it should be pretty interesting in that aspect. Brett Favre's life as well as his time as a football player are all quite interesting. So I'm looking forward to seeing this.
I hope they cast Nicolas Cage to play Brett Favre.
Oh wow.
Don't know why. They just should. Because Nicolas
I,
Cage should play everybody. He should
I
be
think
in
it should be
every movie.
Denzel Washington. He's awesome.
Denzel Washington, there you go, as Brett Favre.
That's right.
Yeah.
Denzel. I loved him in Training Day. Anyway, enough about Denzel. Former Minnesota Vikings safety Jack Brewer got an award for his humanitarianism on the Saturday before the Super Bowl. And it's pretty awesome to see humanitarian efforts rewarded the way that they should be on a bigger stage. Uh, Personally, I had to Google who Jack Brewer was. I'm sorry, Vikings fans. I did.
Me
I
too.
found out that he was a member of the team for 2 years before moving on to three other teams, retiring, going back to school, getting his degrees. And he used all that for good. He used his notoriety as well as his education to help those in need and really the communities that needed a little bit of help. So really cool to see Jack Brewer getting recognized for that.
Yeah, cool work. We always like to recognize things like that, even if we have to Google the players. I'll admit I had to do the same thing. We don't claim to know everything about the history of the Vikings and every player that had a short stint with the team here, folks.
No, but I'd like to maybe one day.
Yeah, you know, we're working on it.
Hey, every day is a learning experience, man.
Totally.
Every day. Speaking of former Vikings, former guard Jeff Schwartz was released by the New York Giants. Schwartz had a decent season for the Giants last year, but again, he struggled with injuries and couldn't really stay on the team the way he wanted to. Because of that and his kind of higher salary, he was let go. Now, regular listeners that have been with us for a long time know that both me and Mr. West, we like Jeff Schwartz. Nice guy on Twitter.
Hmm.
He was an effective
Good
player when
follow.
he was here, but
Good
things
follow
just
on
didn't
Twitter.
fit in with the staff the way it was.
Hmm.
So maybe he'll reconsider, maybe he won't, maybe who knows. But for now, we'd like to wish Jeff Schwartz the best going forward.
Hmm. My main concern with him would probably be the main concern with a lot of teams at this point. Injury history is starting to rack up pretty decent with the guy, so you gotta wonder if you bring him in, you're kind of gonna want to have maybe a minimum contract, incentive laced, whatever. I don't think you'd want to just sign him and just peg him in right away as a starting spot.
No, no. He really couldn't, but
But
he'd be one of
it's
those guys that'd be really valuable in a rotation. But sadly, he is, when healthy,
mhm.
he is a starting caliber guard.
It's a name though that I think is important because I think we all feel that there will be something done with the line for this team through draft and free agency, and it's a name that has some ties to the team previously, and it's a move that you could see Rick Spielman, looking into. Kick the
Well,
tires
from what
with.
I remember, Schwartz and the Vikings didn't exactly leave on the best of terms.
That is true.
So maybe there'll be some patching up to do there. Maybe a lot of that had to do with the coaching staff at the time.
I don't remember who was the coach when he was with the team. Was it
I believe it was Frazier.
was it Frazier or Childress? I don't remember anymore.
I don't remember. But if I were to put a couple dollars down, it would be on Frazier. So if you're a fan of the Minnesota Vikings and you want to get some tickets as soon as possible to be in US Bank Stadium and catch some action,
Get a
you can go
printer.
on eBay and there are some for sale right now.
You get a printer and a Sharpie. No, I'm kidding. Don't do it. It's a trap. Don't do it.
It is really strange that these people that go out and they pay their stadium their founding stadium license fees to be able to go in and reserve the rights to seats, and then they buy the season tickets, and then they already have some tickets for games they don't want to watch up on eBay. It's
Yeah,
just it's
I,
strange to me.
you know, people with more money than I do spend it in unusual ways.
Now, as the gambler in me, I kind of look at these and say, okay, if I've got to pay $150 for a ticket against the Houston Texans, but if I had the feeling that the game against the Houston Texans was going to be the home opener, because home opener tickets are going to be
hmm
really expensive. If you're a gambling person, throw some money down. You might be able to save some money, but otherwise, who knows? You might be out of town, stuck driving into Minneapolis in a snowstorm, feet of snow falling down on you.
Maybe
It
it's
happens.
maybe it's because I don't get to go to a lot of games, but I'm of the mindset of I don't really play this game of, well, I'm going to sell the ticket to this game because I don't think this team is going to be as good as blah, blah, blah. Just go. It's a game. It's a Vikings home game. It's fun. Just go. Just go support the team, right?
Living out of the community, it's hard
Yeah.
because I would love to be at as many games as I could.
You live
But I'd
there.
know
Why are
too
you
that if
not?
I lived closer to the stadium, that there might be situations where I can't go to certain games, or I'd have to pick and choose certain ones to go to, or who knows, maybe you got a wife that just only wants you to go to a couple games.
Oh, divorce.
You're a Vikings fan, she's a Packer fan, you split the home games 4-4. That'd be one heck of a situation right there.
It would be. Marriage counseling. Would be.
Let's see, what else do we got here? Adrian Peterson was named the FedEx Ground Player of the Year. He won the vote. Of course, there wasn't a whole lot of doubt that he was going to win that. He led the NFL in rushing yards. He was tied for most rushing touchdowns in the NFL. With all the other injuries to the premier backs in the league, Adrian was bound to make it. Yeah, he was. There was no real competition at that point. But whenever you leave anything in the hands of voters, you never know what's going to happen.
You never know.
I mean, you remember the Madden cover where that Browns running back made the cover, so
Peyton Hillis?
yeah, Peyton Hillis on the old cover of Madden. It happened. It's part of history. All because they let fans pick. Oh, fans, what?
I'm I'm
We're
happy.
silly.
You know what though? I'm happy for Adrian. He gets one more award to put in his I don't know where you keep awards, but
He probably says the corner of his mansion he throws all his awards in.
yeah, like a box in his garage.
Like the money bin that Scrooge McDuck has. He just opens it up and
Just
throws
tosses it.
his awards in there. Goes for a swim.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm getting silly now. So, an independent film is being made called The 60-Yard Line. It's a romantic comedy, from what I understand, and they are looking to cast Vikings fans that are going to heckle Packer fans at a house party. And so, if you've got the acting bug, you're a Vikings fan, and you kind of wouldn't mind being on screen. You can send your questions and inquiries to the 60-yard line movie at yahoo.com. 60 is a number. Make sure to write out the make sure to put the number, not write it out with letters. This movie is taking place the year that Brett Favre joined the Minnesota Vikings, so it's kind of ties back into all the Favre stuff. But there's a side of me that kind of wants to watch this, but it's a lot of Packers. I mean, there's former Packers and current Packers in the movie, and it's just a lot of green. A lot of green.
You know who won't be in the movie?
Brett Favre?
Darren Sharper.
Hey, you never know. And if there's something about Mary can get Brett Favre, then maybe the 60-yard line can.
Maybe the 60-yard line can get Nicolas Cage and Denzel Washington
There we go.
to be romantically interested in one another. That can be.
I don't know, are they after a cheerleader or something? I don't know the details
Well,
of this movie.
they're
but...
Packer fans, right?
Oh, God. Don't even go there.
Where's Mr. Smith when we need him?
Oh, I tell ya. So, Sunday the Super Bowl was played.
It was.
Like I already said, I was pretty disappointed by a lot of it, but the main takeaway that I had from the Super Bowl
was Independence Day 2 trailer. It was pretty cool.
was that defense
That was my main takeaway.
wins championships. And if the Denver Broncos are the blueprint as to how to reach the Super Bowl and have success, the Minnesota Vikings aren't far away.
That is a, oh geez, pardon me for yawning. That is a true statement.
It is. It's pretty exciting. And not only to mention that, but the Denver Broncos came into that game severe underdogs. Everybody expected the Panthers to walk out of there victorious. The Panthers were favorites in Vegas. They were favorites on every fan site. Everybody was talking about how Cam Newton's going to be holding the trophy and doing his little dab. But instead, Peyton Manning, old Papa John's himself, brought home his second Super Bowl ring, despite the looks that his brother Eli was giving us in the booth.
That was my favorite part of the football game. I'm serious.
Poor Eli.
Poor Eli. Poor Eli. Do you think he'll retire? Do you think we've seen the last of Peyton Manning?
I think Peyton Manning's done. At the very least, I see that Denver is going to want to go with Brock Osweiler next year.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some media outlets that are speculating that Peyton Manning will be the quarterback of the Rams next year. But that's all it is at this point, is all speculation. I firmly believe that after a Super Bowl winning season, winning your second one, going through the season the way he did, getting injured, sitting out for part of the season, being able to come back after a rest, I don't think he can get something like that going again. So if I'm Peyton Manning, I go on top. I keep my sponsors going. I thank the man upstairs and drink my Budweiser with Von Miller and all that other stuff he was talking about.
And his family.
Yeah, do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think he should retire when he's going out on top. I mean, it doesn't get any better than winning a Super Bowl and then being able to retire and say you're done. I kind of feel like that's the dream of every professional athlete, is to retire when you're on top. And for Peyton, it doesn't get any higher than that. So why would he want to come back and have one season where he risks injury and he risks not looking good and just not being able to perform, maybe getting benched? Why would you want to do that when he has nothing left to prove? Like we said about Brett Favre earlier in the show, one of the rare quarterbacks that there's no question that he goes in first ballot Hall of Fame. Well, that's Peyton Manning, and so why would you want to jeopardize that with another season where you stick
Great
around?
question.
Yeah.
So the Super Bowl brought the end to another thing other than the football season and possibly Peyton Manning's career. Marshawn Lynch of the Seattle Seahawks also declared that he was going to hang up his cleats and retire.
Hmm.
Marshawn Lynch was one of the premier running backs in the league. Uh, he's the guy that everyone thought should have gotten the ball on the 1 yard line.
This opens the door perfectly for Rick Spielman to trade Adrian Peterson to the Seattle Seahawks for just a whole bunch of draft picks.
You know, I know that getting rid of Adrian Peterson isn't something that everybody will agree on. And I know that a lot of people became Vikings fans because of what Adrian Peterson has helped the team accomplish, the excitement that he's brought on the field, and all this other stuff. But he's getting older. His yards per carry are down. Struggling to get to the line of scrimmage. The Vikings could ride him for a couple more years. Sure, they could. Or they could try to get what they could for him. And I don't know. With all these openings coming up with teams that could use a running back, it'll still be hard to trade because of the devaluation of the position.
Hmm.
Everybody's going to committees. The days of the feature back, they're rare. Todd Gurley is one of the only running backs in recent drafts that is a featured running back.
Hmm.
They are rare, they're generational, and it's a situation where we don't know what's going to happen. But to see Marshawn Lynch hang up his shoes, it's crazy. 9 years. It's all. The career of a running back is way shorter than many other positions. Many.
They're taking hits every single time they touch the football. Every single time they're taking hits. Big hits, violent hits as well, too.
So true. So true. We could spend some more time talking about the Super Bowl, but it was the biggest game all year. I believe it broke records as far as television viewing. Not a lot of excitement, not a lot of scores. Some strong defense, some strips, a lot of pounding the football. So overall, it's not the kind of shootout Super Bowl that makes people really excited. But if you love defensive football,
I
you couldn't help but watch.
Let me make an honest statement. I am never really that excited for the Super Bowl because it's not the Vikings playing. And I know that there's a lot of football fans, and I'm not saying that there's a right way or a wrong way. You can be excited whatever you want to be excited about. I don't care. But a lot of people are, oh, I'm going to pull for the Carolina Panthers or the Denver Broncos because of this player or that player or
Right.
this
I mean, it would have
this
been nice to see
story.
Jared Allen or Joe
Oh,
Webb or
of
someone,
course, of course. But really, for me, when it's not Minnesota that's playing, I'm just it's not that I'm not interested. Of course I'm interested, but I'm just not excited. I'm not pulling for either team. I'm just like, we'll have a good game and it's whatever. It's cool. Like, I want to see Minnesota in it. Like that's what I'm excited for. That's what I'm waiting to finally
See,
happen.
if the Vikings aren't in the Super Bowl, I like to. I'll push for whatever team my friends like to win. Like,
Hmm.
um, I hate to admit it, but I've got some friends that love the Steelers. I've got friends that love the Packers. Even if the Packers are in the Super Bowl against a team that I don't give a flying poop about, I'll want the Packers to win, so my friend's favorite team will be champions.
Hmm.
And I know that as a Vikings fan, I'm supposed to hate the Packers and all this other stuff, but it's all about happiness and friendship there. I mean, the Vikings will get their time. They're building it up. It'll be here. Maybe when the Vikings are in the Super Bowl and his Packers are sitting at home, maybe he'll be like, "All right, let's win one for Adam and his grandpa."
Hmm. Totally.
Even though both those teams win too many championships, too many. Social media question of the week.
This is a fun one.
We decided to be a little off the mark for this week and have a little fun. But I asked you guys on Facebook if all of the Minnesota Vikings players were running for president of the United States of America, which one would you vote for and why? Got some pretty fun answers here. Tommy Gunn with the most logical answer, Alan Page.
Oh, whoa, he went like old school. I was thinking current, but hey, there you go.
Well, I mean, the guy is a
Yeah,
state sen or a, what is he? State Supreme Court
yeah, he was
justice. He
he
was.
was before he
Yep.
retired. Yeah.
And so he's got the legal stuff down. He logically he makes the most choice.
Hmm.
He's the best choice as far as if historical players were included. John Dostal says after Walsh misses the re-election, the obvious candidate would be Teddy, but he would hand it off to Adrian Peterson, who would drop the nomination. So I would choose soon to be ex-Viking Mike Wallace. If he can be okay and make top receiver money, imagine what he could do to fix the national debt.
I like that a lot. That's good. That's
That was a fun one. Stephen Kornberger says since the Vikings are going more and more after intelligent players with good character, a lot of them would fit the bill, but they're lacking experience. I'd go with Matt Burke.
hey, there you go. Another wise one. Another smart player,
Yeah, we
Mister
got some great comments
Mister
on this. We really
Harvard.
did. Brandon Ellis says AP. Every time he meets with leaders from the Middle East, he could ride in on a camel and crush their hands with his handshake. I also feel like he's the football equivalent to Donald Trump, since whenever he's interviewed, he says whatever dumb thing pops into his head.
Oh
Oh,
boy, I like that.
this is why we love questions like this. Darren Roach gets a little more serious and says, even though Zimmer's a coach and not a player, he'd make a great president. Very honest, shows his emotions. That's what we need. Mike Leonard says Chad Greenway. Corbin Johnson agrees with Mike Zimmer. Dorian Foley likes Teddy Bridgewater because he's good, clean, and wholesome.
Hmm.
Jenny Bosness says, LOL, definitely Chad Greenway or Zimmer. Eddie Self went off the. I don't know where he went off the ballot to on this one, but he said, "I hear Ragnar's looking for a job."
Oh
President Ragnar, what do you think?
no, no Ragnar for president.
Well, he could become president, then he could shoot a video of him out in a field of snow. He could open up a box and pull out a Russian flag and just heel turn everybody.
Believe it or not, I had almost forgotten completely about Ragnar until until just now. Darn it, I was doing pretty good. I was
Oh,
watching, not to get off track again, but back to, like I said, when I was watching older clips from '09 with the Vikings, and I was catching a bit of Ragnar in the background. Uh, He was pretty stupid. I mean, can we admit this just a little bit, guys? That he was
he was all
cool.
about having fun.
He was cool. We liked him. Kind of stupid. Kind of ridiculous. Kind of glad that's gone.
Hey, come on, watching him put up the pigtails and dance into Britney Spears,
Yeah.
riding in on a motorcycle.
Yeah, we can do without that.
You don't see Victor riding in on a motorcycle, do you?
That's because you can't see in Victor's costume.
Oh, poor Victor. At least they don't bring the dinosaur back.
What was the name of that dinosaur? I don't remember.
It was like Vicosaurus Rex or
Yeah,
something like that.
Vicodonus Rex or
There we
Vicosaurus.
go, Vicodontus Rex, yeah.
Yeah, Vicodontus. They should bring the dinosaur back. Come on now.
They already got the kitty one. They need an adult one, like a Game of Thrones Minnesota Vikings mascot or something.
Ah,
Kids love the Game of Thrones. I don't know. I don't watch the Game of Thrones.
we get away with having Sid Davy out in the audience, and he's like
He is. He's the unofficial
he's the
mascot.
unofficial face of like the Minnesota Vikings fans. So
I got to meet him, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Took time out to pose for a picture with me and my buddies, even my buddy that was wearing a Redskins jersey at the time, so he didn't give him too much poop either, so
cool guy. What do we got to do to get Sid in the that NFL Fan Hall of Fame?
he applied last time, I believe, and I
Hmm?
think he came up just a little short.
That's unbelievable. He really needs to be in it. Dude has
Yeah.
Randy Moss endorses him. I mean, come on.
Next time when it happens, we gotta be sure to promote the heck out of him because he's hard. He's a hardcore fan, man.
Hmm?
Those VWO guys, I love them. I appreciate what they do, even though I'm not a part of what they do. I love that they include people who aren't,
Hmm.
and they understand that fans can be fans without being a part of their group. Such a great group of guys, and Sid Davey has been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Hardcore fans, you gotta love it. All right, so soon here we're going to be starting up our positional breakdowns. We're going to be talking about team needs at different spots. And trust me, even though it looks like we've got a roster that is ready for the future, there are definitely some holes that need to be filled, patched up, get a little support, maybe even completely overhauled.
Because you never want to just sit back and be complacent.
No.
Never want to do that.
Even if you got a guy that you think's playing pretty well. I'm a big fan of Mike Harris. I want Mike Harris to be the starting right guard. But you know what? I would not write his name in there in ink. I want him to fight hard. I want him to win that position. And I want him to show that he deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that this is the way that the Vikings front office is now as well. I love that this Minnesota Vikings team has transitioned from, oh, you're a veteran? Okay, here's your spot.
Starting spot. That was Leslie
Yep.
Frazier attitude. Oh, you're a veteran. A vested
And
veteran.
at the time, Vikings fans just kind of had to agree and go with it. We had no
Oh,
choice.
well, okay.
We can't change what they put out on the field. And we got all these name recognition veterans on the field, so we're like, oh yeah, look at all these guys. So we're thinking, yeah, this is good stuff. Meanwhile, these young, athletic, hungry players are sitting on the sidelines, watching, waiting, just hoping for an opportunity that they weren't going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everything's wide open. You're seeing guys that you never even thought would get opportunities to play playing. Anthony Harris, who would have thought that he'd have stopped playing time this year?
Who'd have thought Stephon Diggs would have emerged the way he did,
Exactly.
been the target that he became for Teddy Bridgewater? Pretty cool stuff.
It's been a lot of fun watching this
Mm-hmm.
season, and I hate that it's over.
I'm
And
gonna
now we got the long break until free agency, the draft, the combine, trade season, all that kind of stuff.
we say long, but once this stuff starts to hit, once the first domino starts to fall, it goes in pretty rapid succession where it's one after another, and then it leads into all of a sudden you're at OTAs and training camp, and my God, it's football time again.
I hope you're right, man. I hope
Mhm.
you're right, but I got a feeling it's going to be hanging on pretty long for me. The good part is that I've got The Walking Dead starting up on Sunday, and you guys know I write for Undead Walking, and we got the last 8 episodes of that coming up, and then we got 15 episodes of Fear the Walking Dead, and that goes right into season 7 of The Walking Dead. I've got zombies everywhere to help
Oh,
me
you should get
through.
that looked into, Adam. That
Oh,
sounds,
zombies.
that sounds like a problem.
Oh, yeah.
I hope
Got
you
them
were in the
everywhere.
upstairs story of your house.
I am.
Good.
I got an upstairs apartment. I'm good to go.
Let him in. Let him
With a security door that opens outward, so all set. Ain't no zombies getting in here.
You need access to the roof for it to be like a real secure, for it to be like a real secure zombified area. Like you need roof access.
Or if the Vikings win the Super Bowl and I have to hide away from all the Packer fans that are coming to burn all my Viking stuff.
Hey, there could be a social media question for the week. If the zombie apocalypse was to happen and you had to pick one Minnesota Vikings player to be your personal bodyguard, who would you pick?
I like your question better than one I've written down.
Yeah, I just thought of that.
That's a good question because we got, like I said, The Walking Dead starting back up. We got a lot of big, strong Minnesota Vikings players to choose from.
Yeah, there's lots of ways you could go with it too. Do you want like a big, strong guy like an Everson Griffin? Or do you want like a fast, smaller, speedy guy like Stephon Diggs that you could send out on like a supply run or something?
That's true. Or do you want Minnesota Vikings cheerleader Blair with you?
Sure. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna go out like that. Or maybe you want a coach. Maybe you want Norv Turner
That's true. You could diagram me up a nice escape plan and
Yeah, or Mike
have a
Zimmer.
strategy for everything.
Mike Zimmer to take charge of the situation. Lots of ways you could go with this one.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And on that, that's all I have for this week.
Yeah, me too. Just gotta thank everyone for listening and for all the feedback that you guys give us on a week-to-week basis. We enjoy it. We've been going a little slower on Twitter and on Facebook because, well, it's the off season. Not as much
Yeah, we don't
stuff.
feel the need to post up every little stupid rumor,
Yeah.
especially not ones that aren't founded.
Yeah, we were just talking about that before too, is that before this is the time of year for rumors to spring forth. And before, we don't want to get into the habit of just posting every single rumor as a fact, because
Right.
that's not what we do. We like to have some kind of factual basis.
Now, if there's a rumor going around and it's from a reputable source,
Yeah, if it's
that's
got,
different.
yes, if it's got that little blue check mark near the Twitter name from a verified account, sure, we'll talk about it. But if it's just like wild speculation stuff, we do enough of that on our own
Yeah, we don't want to bring
without
you guys bad
without bringing
info.
in other people's info. Thank you, Adam.
We don't want to bring you that. We we just want to represent the Vikings as best as we can, have fun, and not mislead you guys. We're not trying to impress anybody to, stay on our site with our breaking information and all this kind of stuff. We're straightforward guys.
Hmm.
We are what we are. We post up the information that we get. We have a little fun with this podcast. We make up a silly question for you every now and then. But it's not so bad.
Yeah, it's fun. We like it. We're glad you guys like it too.
On that note, remember to head on over to Kyle West Photography. He's
Yeah,
got lots of cool artwork over there
I
for sale, including Minnesota Vikings stuff,
I redid the whole website.
and it looks sharp.
Yeah.
And as I said before, Walking Dead, I have the full episode spoilers for Sunday's episode posted if you want to go
Oh,
over and
don't
see what
tempt me.
happened.
I don't want to know. I'm not gonna click it. I'm not gonna do it.
I will say this. If you're squeamish, don't watch.
Uh,
This is going to be a big one, fellas. I've also got my writing over on the Viking Age, which I'm going to be starting up my draft profiles soon, and I know how a lot of you guys really like the draft profiles because it's such an exciting time to be able to see all these guys that we may not have paid a lot of attention to in college, see how I think they might fit with the Vikings, see if I think they're worthy of the draft position they're currently listed at. I get kind of opinionated. It's what I do.
mm-hmm.
But that's all I have for this week. So thank you again. Head over, chat with us on Facebook, chat with us on Twitter, and stay classy, Minnesota.